What's going on YouTube? Snowflarky's Emos here today with a new Master Duel deck profile. This is my Blue Eyes Trap Control deck. This is a deck I've been having a lot of fun playing with in paper in the TCG, and now I'm able to build and put it together in Master Duel because the new secret pack contains Dictator of D and Blue Eyes Jet Dragon, two cards that are really good and crucial to get this deck running. And the way this deck plays is it's just a very simple Blue Eyes deck that summons Blue Eyes White Dragon and utilizes very powerful trap cards that synergize well with Blue Eyes White Dragon to constantly disrupt and make it hard for our opponent to play. And then we can just beat down their face with a, 3,000 attack monster. So with that said, let's get into the cards. Starting off with our monster, we are playing 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon, the namesake of the deck, the iconic Kaiba monster. It's 3,000 attack, 8-star normal monster, mostly in here because all the cards go with Blue Eyes. And what's nice about building this deck in Master Duel is that Master Duel gives you 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons when you start the game, so that's just 2 Ultras that you don't need to craft. Next, I'm playing 1 copy of White Stone of Legend. If this card is sent to the graveyard, add a Blue Eyes White Dragon from our deck to our hand. Pretty cool. We want to get Blue Eyes in the hand or graveyard so that we can use True Light with it, so good tool to do so. Next, I have a copy of Sage with Eyes of Blue. When this card is normal summoned, you can add a level 1 Light Tuner from your deck to your hand. That includes either White Stone or White Stone of Ancients. It has a second effect where you can discard a card to target an effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and special summon Blue Eyes from your deck, which you can do if you need to get Blue Eyes out on the field, but mostly just in here to search the tuners. Next, I am playing 3 copies of White Stone of Ancients. This is just a nice card that is a 1-star tuner. And of course, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can special summon a Blue Eyes monster from the deck, which is pretty cool. That can pull out our Blue Eyes White Dragon, or it can pull out our Blue Eyes Jet Dragon, which is a good use for it, especially if you already have a Blue Eyes in the grave or in your hand. Well, yeah, White Stone of Ancients is pretty sick. You can also banish it from your graveyard to target a Blue Eyes monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Not too useful for this build because we're not really doing the alternative stuff, but, it's there if you need it. Next, we got 3 copies of Dictator of D. This card is pretty cool. While you control a Blue Eyes monster, you choose the attack targets for your opponent's attacks, so that's pretty neat. And of course, you can send a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or deck to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. So that's pretty sweet because this is a good way to just get Blue Eyes into the grave real quick, and we want to do that, which is why we're playing this card at 3 copies. It also has another effect where we can discard a Blue Eyes White Dragon or a card that mentions it to target a Blue Eyes monster in the graveyard and special summon it. That effect can come in handy, not as handy as True Light, but it's still there regardless. And last, we're playing a Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. Really powerful card to give to Blue Eyes that is nice to have. Other cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and you can use each of the following effects of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon once per turn. If this card is, basically, if Blue Eyes White Dragon is on the field or in the graveyard, if a card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from the graveyard, even if it was there when the card was destroyed, or hand, even if not. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles, you can target a card your opponent controls. So basically, anytime your card or your opponent's card is destroyed, you can special summon this from the grave or hand, and then when it battles, you can send any card back to the hand, which is pretty cool. It is targeting, but, it's just a nice little additional effect to have. So what's nice about this deck is with True Light, we're able to summon Blue Eyes, and then if Blue Eyes gets outed, we can summon Jet Dragon, and then if Jet Dragon gets outed, well, we can probably summon Blue Eyes on a following turn. And that is it for our monsters. Next, we're looking into the spell cards. I am playing 1 copy of Terraforming. Terraforming adds a field spell from the deck to our hand. Our field spell of choice is, of course, 2 copies of Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi. This is a nice card because it makes all non-effect monsters on the field unaffected by monster effects. That includes Blue Eyes, which we are going to be getting on the field quite a bit. And if our opponent special summons an effect monster while you control a face-down monster or non-effect monster, you can draw 2 cards. So this is pretty nice because Blue Eyes is a normal monster, so then just special summoning an effect monster draws us 2 cards. Also, if we don't have Blue Eyes yet, we can easily set one of these white stones face down, and it does draw us 2 cards for having a set monster, so that's pretty good use. So, decent enough, good way to replenish the deck and keep it moving. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Melody of Awakening Dragon. This is a card that allows us to discard a card and add up to 2 dragon monsters with 3,000 or more attack and 2,500 or less defense from the deck to our hand. In this deck, we really want to see Blue Eyes and Blue Eyes Jet Dragon as quickly as possible. So any of these cards that help us get it is good for us. Next, we have a copy of Dragon Shrine. Send a dragon monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then, if that monster in your graveyard is a normal dragon monster, you can send one more dragon. So this can pitch Blue Eyes, and then any other dragon, either Jet Dragon or one of the stones. Pretty good to have. Next, Bingo Machine Go. Reveal 3 cards from your deck that are essentially either a Blue Eyes monster or a spell or trap that specifically lists Blue Eyes White Dragon or Ultimate Dragon. And then your opponent randomly picks one and adds it to the hand. So this card is nice because you can use it to basically search out your True Light. And what's nice is that because this card mentions Blue Eyes, True Light can set this card directly from the deck. Now you can only activate it once per turn, and you don't really need more than one, so I'm choosing to only play one in this build. Saves you a little UR death. You could play more if you like it. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. This is nice. We're not summoning too much from our extra deck, so we're going to turn that into card advantage. We banish 3 to 6 extra deck cards randomly face down, and we draw 1 card for every 3 banished. So we banish 6, draw 2. We can't activate any other draw effects for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, but that's okay. I like this over cards of Consonance and Trade-In because, well, it allows me to play lower monsters, and this card is a plus, whereas those cards just even out for the most part. And we're also playing a copy of Fury of Karyushin. This is just in here because it adds Torrential Tribute from the deck to the hand, and Torrential Tribute is very powerful in this deck. We're very happy to blow up our own board to disrupt our opponent because we can either summon our monster again with True Light, or Blue Eyes Jet Dragon comes out on the field, each of which are good things. So a card that just searches one of these and thins the deck is very nice. And last, we're playing an Ultimate Fusion. During the main phase, we can fusion summon a monster from the extra deck that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as material by shuffling the fusion materials listed on it from the hand, field, and or graveyard into the deck, which is pretty sweet. And then we can destroy face-up cards our opponent controls up to the number of Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. So this is just pretty cool. It allows us to recycle our Blue Eyes that are on the field into a fusion monster, and then True Light can summon our Blue Eyes that we used once we get it back in our hand or in our graveyard. So it's just a pretty good option to have, and this card can be set directly from the deck with True Light, so that deck thinning ability definitely makes me have my eye on this card. Next up, I'm playing 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. Torrential Tribute decides all monsters on the field. And, you know, that's pretty good. It destroys monsters, interrupts the board, and we are very happy to do that, especially with some of the other cards, and we don't mind wiping our own board because the Blue Eyes cards are constantly coming back. Continuing on, we are playing an Ultimate Creature of Destruction. This targets a Blue Eyes monster we control, and that face-up monster is unaffected by card effects except its own. Also, it cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, an opponent's monster it battles is destroyed at the end of the damage step. So this is pretty cool. Just a good way to protect our Blue Eyes monster. Mostly important for if True Light's going to get out and blow up our whole field. And of course, Ultimate Creature of Destruction mentions Blue Eyes, so True Light can set it directly from the deck, giving us that card advantage, which is pretty sweet. Next up, I'm playing 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. This is just pay half our life points to say no to a summon or a spell or trap card. You know, when we have our floodgates and our setup, you know, our opponent's going to try to out it, and if we really need to protect that, Solemn Judgment allows us to do so, and just a good thing to have. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Solemn Strike. When a monster would be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, pay 1,500 life points to negate the summon or activation, and if we do, destroy that card. So very powerful, negates effects, negates special summons. Works pretty well with summon limit because if our opponent summons 2 monsters, makes an extra deck monster, if we strike it, then on a separate chain use summon limit, well, they're not going to be able to summon any more monsters, which is pretty sweet. Leaves them with an open board. If you like this card, you can run 3. Since I only have 2, though, I'm playing a Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi, a card I also like because when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control a face-up non-effect monster, aka Blue Eyes, we negate the activation. If this set card on the field is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, we can special summon a non-effect monster from the deck. So that's pretty cool. There's lots of big non-effect monsters we can summon, and another Solemn Judgment is nice to have. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Skill Drain. Activate this card by paying 1,000 life points. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters while they are on the field. This card in TCG is at 3, which makes this card very powerful because we don't mind if our monster's effects are negated because their attacks are so big. So, Skill Drain is very nice because negating our opponent's monsters is often the win con, and we can just beat over them from there. 2 is still perfectly acceptable to play, especially since we have other floodgates we can use. Other floodgate being, I'm playing 2 copies of Summon Limit. Neither player can summon more than 2 times per turn, which is pretty good. You know, if your opponent summons 2 monsters, you can play Torrential Tribute, play, then chain Summon Limit, and of course, you're going to wipe their board, and they're not going to be able to summon any more monsters, which we want an open field to attack with our big blue eyes. And it doesn't punish us too much because we're usually not summoning more than 2 times per turn. Which is perfectly fine. And then last, we're playing 3 copies of True Light. This is the great trap card that makes this deck playstyle work. Your opponent cannot target Blue Eyes White Dragon in your monster zone with card effects. And if this face-up card is sent from the spell and trap cards into the graveyard, you destroy all monsters you control. Important to note that, and use Ultimate Creature of Destruction if that happens. But once per turn, you can activate one of these 2 effects. You can either special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or graveyard, which is why we want to get those there as quickly as possible. Or we can set a spell or trap directly from our deck that specifically lists Blue Eyes White Dragon in its text. That includes Ultimate Creature of Destruction, that includes Ultimate Fusion, that includes Bingo Machine. So, just a way to generate us some card advantage, cards we can use. And that kind of thing is nice when you're playing these kind of trap control decks. You got to have a way to generate resources. And that is it for the main deck. Looking at the extra deck, we don't go into it a ton because we mostly play Extravagance to banish the cards. We are playing a copy of Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. I would play more copies of this if you had it, but I've only pulled one so far, and it's not that big of a deal, so I haven't crafted it yet. Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, of course, is a fusion between Blue Eyes White Dragon and a dragon monster, so that can be Jet Dragon, another Blue Eyes, any of the stones. Cool deal. And basically, this card is unaffected by trap cards or effects, which is pretty nice, especially if your True Light gets destroyed, then this should stay on the field. And this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once per turn at the end of the damage step. If this card battled, target a trap card in your graveyard and set it to your spell and trap card zone. So it's pretty nice. It wipes monsters, it sets trap cards, good deal. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Master of Oz. This is just a really big non-effect monster that we could possibly summon off of a popped Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi. So if that happens, we want to have a good option, and 4,200 attack is very nice. Next, we're playing 3 copies of Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. This is one of the Blue Eyes we can definitely make. Must either be fusion summoned or special summoned by sending the above monsters you control to the graveyard. So if you got 2 Blue Eyes on the field and you got True Light, you could send them to the grave, make this, and then True Light another Blue Eyes. And it'll give you 3 monsters over a course of turn, and of course one of them being this monster that has effects. So this card can't be destroyed by battle. It can make 2 attacks on monsters during the battle phase, and at the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster but that monster was not destroyed, you can banish that opponent's monster. So pretty good, non-targeting removal, we like that. Next, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. It's just a fusion of 3 Blue Eyes, which we can't summon traditionally, but if our Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi gets popped, then we are able to summon it that way, which is pretty nice. Next, we got Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, also a fusion of 3 Blue Eyes, mostly just in here for the Blue Eyes name. Again, a monster that we can't actually traditionally summon, but it's good to have here. It's, often forgot about Blue Eyes Monster, and if Alternative was in this game, we'd probably put Alternative in the slot, but we do not. Next is Azure-Eyes Silver Dragon. I'm actually going to put 2 Azure-Eyes Silver Dragon in there because they should be in there. Azure-Eyes Silver Dragon is just a monster that, if it's a synchro monster that's a level 9, so Blue Eyes and a tuner can make this. Our tuners being the course the stones. And Azure-Eyes just makes it so that until the end of the next turn, neither player can target dragon monsters you currently control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by card effects. And then once per turn during your standby phase, you can target a normal monster in your graveyard and summon it. You can, of course, play the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon instead, and probably is better in this slot. But like I said, I have not necessarily optimized the extra deck because you very rarely go into these cards. And of course, last I have a copy of Link Karibo. Definitely a card that's worth considering more of if you want to trade out some of these other like Neo Ultimate Blue Eyes. Because Link Karibo is really nice because any of our stones can make this, and that'll get those stones into the graveyard to activate their effect. And Link Karibo is a pretty good card. You can tribute this card to change the attack of an opponent's monster that's attacking to 0 until the end of this turn. And then, of course, at your end of your graveyard, you contribute a level 1 monster, special summon this card. You can only use this effect of Link Karibo once per turn. So yep, extra deck, mostly just fill it with Blue Eyes fusions and synchros and something like Linkuriboh. You could definitely play around with this. It's not that important because you don't go into it too often. And that is it for the main deck and the extra deck. Let's take a look at what's next. So here's a video of the Blue Eyes deck in action here. We're going first against our opponent, and of course our hand is Seeing Flash Fusion's not so hot. Having a Blue Eyes stuck in the hand instead of a card to get Blue Eyes to the grave is not great. And, Strike and Fist is okay, but we don't have a way to get Blue Eyes out yet, so Fist ain't too hot. So Strike is really our only playable card. We need to extravagance into some more cards. So let's see what we can do here. So we do play our Pot of Extravagance. Opponent does not have the Ash, which means we can draw our cards. Now we get Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi, which is nice. We set our monster and we play our 3 back row. Now what's important about Ultimate Fusion is we can use Ultimate Fusion right now to make Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, so that's something to keep in mind. So our opponent takes turn, they draw. They play Melody of the Awakening Dragon. Looks like we're in the Blue Eyes mirror match. I've been playing lots of Blue Eyes players since some of the new support came out. They're going to discard their White Stone. They're going to grab Chaos Max and Blue Eyes. Everybody loves that Chaos Max, and that does scare me because I have a 250 defense monster on the field. So we'll see what happens. They start by summoning the Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon. This is an effect monster, which allows us to draw 2 cards off of Flawless Perfection and Tenyi. Judgment is nice, but another Flawless, not so hot. They're going to pop my White Stone with Blue Eyes. They don't want any face-down shenanigans, I guess, not trying to go for the double piercing. Or maybe they don't have it yet. That does get us our second Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes is that we can't get out of our hand. They're going to summon Dictator of D by sending Blue Eyes. They're going to add Blue Eyes back to the hand with White Stone of Ancients, which is kind of a confusing play. Then they play Advanced Ritual Art here, sending a Blue Eyes from the deck to the grave to summon out Chaos Max. And that Blue Eyes they added back to the hand, they're using as discard fodder for Dictator of D, trying to summon it right now. So I will strike the Dictator of D to get it off the field. And of course, that does mean I got to take a direct hit from Chaos Max, but not a big deal. At the end of the turn, we are going to use the Flash Fusion, shuffle both of our Blue Eyes from our hand back into our deck to get Twin Dragon, which can remove both of these cards. So we're going to draw Fury of the Karyushin. Pretty nice. Get us Torrential Tribute. Torrential Tribute and Solemn Judgment for the follow-up is pretty nice. Pretty safe way to secure the game here. We're going to banish Chaos Max with Twin Burst Effect and remove Alternative just by destroying it. They do top deck the Harpy's Feather Duster, which I could Judgment to keep Torrential, but I think I take the risk to let it go off because it did pop my Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi. We're going to use this to pull out a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, which is going to stick because their 1 card can't threaten us. We're going to draw a card for turn. It's True Light, a card we definitely want to see. We're going to play Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi. This will keep our Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon unaffected by monster effects and allow us to draw 2 cards if they special summon an effect monster. We're going to attack with the 2 monsters, putting them down to 500, set the True Light, and pass the turn. Now our opponent is going to draw. They don't have any plays. We're going to wait till the end phase of True Light, set Bingo Machine Go. Then our turn changes. We are going to play Bingo Machine Go. We're going to try to look for our Blue Eyes, and then I'll just get a copy of True Light, just in case this one gets removed. We do get a Blue Eyes, but I'm just going to set the Spell or Trap card, and Twin Burst will finish it off. And there's the deck in action. So that is my Blue Eyes Trap Control deck. This is just a different alternative way to play Blue Eyes that I kind of like, since Blue Eyes isn't a great combo deck. You know, they can't make a lot of negate monsters. I instead like to utilize their powerful trap cards. The key to making this deck work is definitely finding that right ratio between trap cards and your monsters. And of course, the trap cards, you always got to be evolving towards a meta game. So, you know, the traps will switch out when you're up against different things. Skill Drain is very good. Summon Limit is good. Maybe consider going more in on Floodgates because they're usually your win con. And, of course, the Blue Eyes just close the game quickly before your opponent can draw the out. So, whatever you want to do with the deck, this is just my basis and pretty solid so far. We'll definitely see what I do with it from here. I have a lot of fun playing this deck, so I'm going to constantly be working on tinkering it, making it even better, and it can go even further, I think. So with that said, thanks for checking out the profile. Let me know what you're doing with the new Blue Eyes cards. Love to know. Blue Eyes, kind of iconic monster, very cool, and it's very fun to play. All right, thank you folks for checking it out. I'll catch you in the next one.